Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Matt Horn
is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Carlos, I know we didn't get off to a great start, but...
You saved my ass first. You're a hell of a lot braver than me.
Look at all this. What was Umbrella up to?
Hey Matt, it's Jeff. Carlos from Resident Evil. This is the third time I've called. Just wanted to chat with you when you get a chance. Wanted to talk to you about Resident Evil 3. Hoping you went out and bought it. You should have, if you haven't. It's a really good game, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't want to be left in a cold, cruel, matless world, which is a reference you would understand if you already bought the game. Okay, buddy, just give me a call back whenever you get a chance. The number is, well, you've got the number. Okay, talk soon. Cheers.
So on the line we have Jeff Schine talking to us. From where are you talking to us from, Jeff?
Currently I am in my office in Los Angeles.
The locked down Los Angeles.
Yes, we are very locked down, as is most of the world.
Well, obviously I do have to mention the elephant in the room, yes, which is obviously COVID-19. Obviously this has been going on for weeks now. I think everyone's aware of it by now. What's it been like for you?
It's certainly been a change. My wife and I are both lucky enough to be home right now. I feel fortunate enough to be able to do some work from home, but I mean, it's definitely been, it's been a stress. I think it's been a stress on everybody. You know, it's your entire life gets turned upside down. Everything is different. I mean, certainly, you know, isolation in and of itself can be challenging. And then on top of that, like, you know, I know many people are without work. It's a tough time, but I'm trying as best I can, I think, to find some of the positives in it, you know, and some of the sort of collective conscious that is happening. And my hope is that out of this, people are going to emerge with like a greater sensitivity and compassion for each other, and sort of an even deeper awareness of how connected we all are, really. Because I think through this disconnection, people were really all feeling how connected we were and maybe didn't realize. But we're navigating it all right. Everybody, and myself especially, you know, we're just taking it day by day and doing the best we can.
Obviously, this whole crisis has brought up two terms, which I think need to be banished once this is over. Self-isolation, social distancing. Yes, what's that been like for you?
It's funny, I don't know if I heard somebody else mention this. This notion of like social distancing, I actually don't think it's social distancing, right? It's physical distancing, but socially we don't have to be distant. I mean, this is the best time in the world to ever have to be isolated or quarantined, right? Because, you know, we're lucky enough to live in an age of unbelievable technology. So it's like, you know, I can you know, see 8 of my family members from 8 different places in the United States, you know, all on a small webcam. Luckily, we're in a time of video games. You know, I'm playing video games with my brother and my friends, you know, online every couple of days. Physically, we're distanced, but socially and emotionally, I don't feel like we have to be at all. So the idea of social distancing, I would just take, you know, small nuanced discrepancy with. And then self-isolation, I mean, you know, again, I think so much of the world is like, so much of everything is perspective, right? Like everything is about choices and perspective, and that's what you sort of bring to every situation. So you can choose to look at self-isolation as like as a form of punishment, I guess, if you will, but really I think it's an act of love. I mean, you know, I have, you know, close personal friends and family who are in the medical field, and the idea of staying home is sort of like the greatest act of love you can offer at this point. It is your, you know, sacrifice to the greater good, and I think it doesn't have to be isolating either. Do you know what I mean? And this is the part of the physical distancing where you don't have to be isolated. You don't have to be alone. I mean, I certainly don't feel alone, and I'm lucky enough to have a wife and a dog, but if I didn't have a wife and a dog, I have opportunity to connect with lots of people, and, you know, in the most rudimentary way, someone is always a phone call away, you know?
I do have to ask the funny question. Are you stocked up?
Well, on what specifically? So we're pretty stocked up, but I didn't buy into the toilet paper craze. When things seemed the most unsure, the last thing I was thinking about was how much TP I needed.
Well, I think you're going to need it for what we're about to talk about. So, yes, obviously Resident Evil 3, which has come out last week. Everyone is enjoying it. I've seen it. I've played the demo. I've got it. I haven't had a chance to really get into it yet, but obviously graphically it looks amazing. The plot line is incredible. Jeff, did you know much about the original game before you signed on?
So specifically Resident Evil 3, I did not know a great deal about. Resident Evil as a franchise, both as it occurs in games and film, very familiar with. Resident Evil 2 was the first Resident Evil I ever played many years ago. I thought it was just a great game, and I have fond memories of that and playing with my uncle and my cousin. And then obviously Resident Evil as a franchise, it's massive enough where I can't really imagine that anybody hasn't at least heard the title and vaguely familiar with it. But yeah, so I was familiar with that. But specifically 3, no. I mean, I didn't really know a lot about the plot line prior to my signing on to it.
Because if anyone's not heard the other interviews yet, they won't know that I can do a really good impression of Nemesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Stars.
Well, I mean, I think we know who's getting cast from here on out.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said I could have done it.
We got to tell Capcom immediately.
Well, I don't know if he comes back. Does he come back? I don't know.
I don't know, but if he does, we got our guy. He's a man of few words, but they pack a punch.
Well, obviously, as I know, a lot of the game was done through mocap technology, which is obviously the industry standard now. I think we can say. Yeah. What was it like doing the mocap for the game? Because I heard from Nicole you were doing it as a group, weren't you?
Most mocap is usually recorded that way. It's sort of rare that you do that in a vacuum because they really treat it like. I mean, you can really think of mocap as any other performance in any other film or television or theatrical medium. They're really the same. And in fact, I find mocap to be a blend between theater and television, or theater and film, in so much as takes are long and they have to be done in one. You know, in film and TV, you could do pickups. You know what I mean? We like this shot. We like that shot. We like this angle. The beginning of this scene worked. Let's pick it up from the middle. Let's take it. You know what I mean? In mocap, you don't really have that luxury, so you'll do large chunks of dialogue and scenes, and you've got to get it in one, so everything's got to go well. And in that way, it's very theatrical. And also, in so much as it shares the space with theater, in that the physical space itself is very open to imagination. You kind of have to create that space yourself. We'll build out some things. If there's a car in the scene, you might have a huge, a piece of scaffolding that represents the car, and how do you navigate around it. But you have a lot of filling the space with your imagination. But mocapping as a group is very common, and that's what we did. And I love it. I love the process of motion capture. It's one of my favorite things.
If no one's had a chance yet to look at Nicole's Twitter, there's a wonderful video. Have you seen it?
Rolling underneath the gate?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I reposted that to my Instagram. I thought it was great. I think it's cool because I think sometimes we take for granted that everybody understands the process, and I know some people are always interested in and might not know what it looks like, but that's a great example of a small piece of what mocap looks like.
I do have to ask this question. This is a running gag actually throughout the whole entire Resident Evil 3's podcast so far. Obviously you're playing Carlos, as we know. Yes. Do you think it would have been better if he had self-isolated?
No, I mean, I think Carlos couldn't have self-isolated because there were a lot of people that needed to be saved. Not the least of which was Jill a few times.
Jill and Carlos, would they not come under the umbrella? The umbrella of key workers.
He performs an essential service.
The umbrella of key workers.
That was a really nice pun laid in there.
Yeah, this podcast, writes itself. It's too easy. With horror games especially, there's sort of a less amount of jump scares and more psychological playing with people's minds and such. What are your thoughts on that?
I think VR gives you a really great opportunity to bring some of the jump scares back. I mean, I remember actually playing a VR game last Christmas and having a really good jump scare which knocked me off my feet, literally. That's not a figurative. But then for sure the opportunity to bring that sort of intellectual fear, that psychological thriller, you're really opening up a whole new can of worms when you talk about VR or augmented reality. I think it's really going to be cool. Storytelling in games just continues to get better and better and better. We're reaching a really, really great place with it, and I think it's getting reflected in the quality of the projects that are coming out, how invested in the story people are. I think there was a period of time where games were really all about maybe exclusively gameplay, how the game felt, how the game played, which is hugely important, right? The experience of being, on the sticks, has to feel good. But now people want to care about why they're doing these things. Why am I in this universe? Why am I doing this thing? It needs to matter.
So obviously, what was it like working with the cast and crew on the mocap set?
It sounds like such a thing to say, but I genuinely mean it. It was a fantastic crew, and I love the cast. We had a great time together. We all really bonded well. We were lucky enough to shoot in Japan. It was my first time there, and we were working with an all-Japanese crew. So, there was this really interesting sort of, I kind of felt like a magic that was happening because of this language barrier that we had. A lot of how we had to communicate, was with a translator or through just sort of like gestures or nonverbals. But it really created this very, to me, what felt like open and like playful, really like respectful interaction. I loved it. So the crew was fantastic. And then, I spent most of the time on set with Neil and Nicole. The three of us were there a lot, obviously with other people coming in. But it was great, man. We had a great time. And we were kind of like, we were really, on location, stuck together for a couple weeks at a time. But I couldn't have asked for a nicer group of people to be with. They were really, really cool.
Are there any sort of funny anecdotes you can share about the production of the game?
For me, what was always like exciting every morning was to see what outfit Neil was going to be wearing. Neil has a very eclectic taste in like wardrobe, and he would show up to set in like kimonos and like then like other interesting weird overalls. And I just like, I was always excited to see what Neil was going to wear because I'm very much like a creature of habit, especially when I'm working. I like to eliminate complication. So I'll wear like the same, like I'm a black t-shirt guy all day long. I love a black t-shirt. It's a staple in my wardrobe. It has to be there. And especially like if I'm on set and mocapping specifically because you end up changing your clothes immediately when you get there. I'm like comfortable pair of pants, comfortable pair of kicks. Usually they're like Chucks or something like that. And then a black t-shirt. So it was always nice to see Neil's, interesting wardrobe choices.
In the end, you actually just turn into spandex, don't you, with balls?
You just put on a giant leotard and then run around a stage all day.
Which, when you say it like that, seems suspicious, but it's got to be a hell of a lot of fun.
It's like being a giant kid. I mean, I really love what I do. Like, I love it. I'm never calling my wife going like, hey, I got to go to work today. Because it genuinely never feels like work. I get to do this thing that I love, and then I'm just lucky enough to get paid for it.
Well, obviously, with games that are being released this month, also comes the other one that you're in. It's a 2-for-1 with this interview, actually. It's the Final Fantasy VII remake. You're doing additional voices for this project, which are what exactly?
So I did a number of them for that. I know for sure there was a bunch of like military soldiers or guards, but what's kind of cool about doing the additional voices is you get to fill in a lot of different pieces. So, you may do, like I said, a couple of the soldiers, you may do like a scientist, you may do this random guy in the crowd or this other dude that gets shot, but additional voices are always a fun thing to do.
And obviously it is a remake as well as Resident Evil 3. Did you play Final Fantasy VII when it had come out in the 90s?
Like Resident Evil, I'm super familiar with Final Fantasy as a franchise because it's got to be one of the most massive franchises in existence, I would have to imagine, just with all the installments and all the branches. But no, I never played 7 specifically. I don't know if I remember what the last Final Fantasy I played was.
You've got Final Fantasy VII. Then you had the spin-off movie that came out sort of about 10 years later. And now you've got the reboot of the actual game. The interesting thing there is that I didn't know this until the other day, that actually Final Fantasy VII, the remake, it's been done in chapters. It's been done in parts.
Wait, so what just got released is the first of a couple chapters?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome. Because for me, I always like something I could chew on for a while.
With the production of that game, what was it like for you there? Because that would have been just purely voice, I would imagine.
So when you're mocapping something, you spend a lot of time on the stage, and then eventually you end up in the booth as well, right? You have to fill in a lot of the scenes, or you maybe have to do some pickups, or you got to do the walk-around lines. So you always end up in a booth. That piece is done by yourself, sometimes ensemble, but not as frequently. But Final Fantasy was just voice, so, we were just right into the booth. You'll watch the video of the scenes, so they'll usually have playback for you, and you can kind of see what's going on, or the director will just explain it to you in great detail. And you just jump right in. You have to be ready to just go with the drop of a hat. And a lot of times, you don't, like I didn't know I was going in for Final Fantasy VII. I don't even know if I knew that until, I stepped in front of the microphone and had the script in front of me. There's no there's not a lot of heads up about it. Things are very, very, very hushed.
So let's talk a bit about you, Jeff, you yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, what made you want to get into acting in the first place?
I'd always really been drawn to film and actors and like storytelling. I remember as a kid, I started just out of nowhere. I started keeping a list of every film I'd ever seen. I just started writing everything down. I think it was up to like 600 or 700, well before I was even in high school. And I liked the idea of play. Like, I really liked the idea of play and telling a story from as far back as, like, playing with my G.I. Joes and creating elaborate, like, scenarios to, like, chasing my mother around the house, doing weird voices and, like, trying to make her laugh. But I also don't really recall thinking about it in terms of something that I could do, for a living or with my life until much later. It was kind of just something I enjoyed. I did plays in middle school and then did some community theater in high school. And I really don't think it was till maybe junior or senior year in high school when a family friend of mine had come back. He was a little bit older than me and came back from Los Angeles, having worked on some films, and was talking about that experience, that it even dawned on me that, oh, you can actually choose this as a job, because it kind of seemed like something that other people did. So once I sort of had that epiphany, then it was full bore. I went to college and majored in theater and film and television, and I've been doing it since. So, I guess really my whole life, but I love storytelling, and I love connecting.
What advice would you give to anyone wanting to pursue a career in the industry?
Make sure you love it. Make sure you love it, like really love it. If a career in film or television or games or whatever storytelling medium you want is an interest of yours, it cannot be for money and it can't be for notoriety, because that's the wrong place to find it, because they don't come easily and you have no control over those things. But if you love it, if it's really the only thing you feel called to do, then do it, and do it all the way. I don't think you can half measure it. It's too hard. It demands too much, and you have to sacrifice a lot to get there. But it's a great field. It's a rewarding field. It requires you to be incredibly humble and also at the same time have a thick skin. And I would recommend, be a student. Be a student for your whole life and go in knowing that you're always going to be learning. You're never going to reach the peak of the mountain. There's always going to be somebody who's got something, important or interesting for you to know or learn. So, be aware, be humble, be dedicated, and don't stop.
Well, obviously, I have to go on about my love of the cons, the conventions, as it were. Obviously, everyone knows I keep going on about this, because obviously I'm interested in fandom and cosplaying and fan art. Obviously, when I did Nicole's interview, this was a day before it was released. Okay, so now we've had a week of obviously Resident Evil 3 being around, and obviously that's the main reason why we're here. Have you had any sort of fan reception to Carlos?
I'm really pleased and just feel very grateful. People seem to be receiving him really well. I've gotten some really nice feedback and some nice comments from the fans. I'm kind of like you. I'm obsessed with fan art. I love art in general. I'll look at comic books without even reading them just because I enjoy the art. So there's been some really cool fan art floating around. The fans have been super gracious and really supportive. Resident Evil fans are a great group. So I couldn't be more flattered by the reception. And then there's like a lot of people streaming the game on YouTube and playing it, and it's been awesome. It's been a really warm welcome into the Resident Evil universe,
And into fandom as well, I suppose.
Yeah, those are like interesting words. Look, it feels really nice, and I'm always really grateful if somebody likes the work that I've done. If in some way it's resonated with somebody, or made them feel something, or they thought it was cool. I think about it now in terms of where we sort of are as a planet. If the game gives someone a little reprieve from the sort of stressful situation they're finding themselves in, then I feel like if our story can do that, or if my performance in any way lends to that, that's a great thing, and I'm really proud to be part of that.
Because there's one thing that the fans seem to have latched onto, and I think it is you that does it in the actual game. It's the scene with you and Jill, and it's all about a radio.
Oh, yeah. Here, you can use this if you want to call me.
Did you ever think a scene such as simple as that would have got notoriety?
so don't quote me on this, but I can't remember if we came up with it in real time or if it was in the script. But I remember, like, there was that line. And the line was as written for the most part. Here, you can use this if you need to call me. I can't remember what Jill's line originally was, but if my memory serves me correctly, it was a little bit different. And I kind of remember, like, us sitting there and, like, kind of looking at it. And I think it was me who said, like, she's smart, man. She's like a super capable woman. She knows what a radio is. Like, it's a radio, So it was kind of like, why doesn't she just say that? And I sort of love the honesty that the writers embraced and, like, sort of we all embrace, which is just like sometimes you can just call out things and people will really appreciate it. So I remember, like, when we were working on that exchange thinking, like, this is funny. This is really funny. Because it's like a super, like, almost mansplainy kind of thing to do. And I love that Jill just comes back with, like, yeah, dude, I know what a radio is.
And they kept it.
But sometimes it's hard to deny those kinds of moments of, like, authenticity, It's just real. It's authentic. And, like, that's what a human being would say. Like, yeah, I know it. I know what a radio is. We don't have to explain it to me.
Obviously, I need to talk about the newest project that's been released in potentially September. I say potentially being the word. Obviously, things are being delayed because of the whole COVID issue. Marvel's Avengers, which obviously is a big, massive project that everybody is talking about, alongside stuff like Cyberpunk 2077. That's another one that's been released more so around that time. Last of Us Part 2 is another as well. Basically, you're playing Captain America.
Yes. Which
I can say. I think I can say that, can't I? Yeah, I can say that. But the thing that really I find interesting about this is a great question for you, okay? Right?
Okay.
Laura Bailey, Troy Baker,
yes.
Nolan North, Travis Willingham, right? They are literally the mocap artists of our generation, right? They are literally A-level stars, right?
I agree completely.
What was it like working with them?
I would agree with you. These are people who have contributed a tremendous amount to our field, whom I respect greatly. And so you get the cast list and it informs you right away, like, okay, this is serious. And I think for me, I was really happy to find they were exactly whom I hoped they would be. I sort of had an expectation of what they would be as professionals, just based on their reputation and their work, and but to also find out that they were just as cool and gracious and welcoming as humans, I think was even more rewarding. Any of those kind of situations, when you're on set with talent of that caliber, I think you have to carry yourself accordingly. Like, if I had to guess, they don't need or want somebody else to come into set with all of the, like, deference or, like, fanboying or any of that kind of stuff. They need another professional, right? They need somebody to, like, row the boat with them. And so I felt like that was exactly what I needed to do and what I could bring. And, we just had a great time. It was super collaborative. They're awesome people. I loved working with them. I really hope I get to do it again. And I feel like we all had a really good camaraderie. If you haven't had a chance to meet them at a con or talk to them or anything, you will not be disappointed. They're awesome people.
I'm going to ask a dangerous question, Jeff.
You can be dangerous.
Yeah.
I'll navigate.
Between you and me and the listener.
Yeah.
Would you say that it was a masterclass in mocap?
Yes. If you're on that set with these people, you absolutely are learning something. You have to. But I hope I get asked that question after every job I do, and the answer is always yes. Because if I go to a set and I don't learn something, either by my own failure or my own trial and error or by somebody else doing something, then I really in some ways have missed part of my job, which is to, like, always be available and always be learning. I've been fortunate enough to come into that set having, been on a mocap stage, probably 6 or 7 times before, in a lot of different capacities. So, this already felt like home to me, but it's impossible to be around that much experience and not learn something. So I was really happy to, like, absorb and sit back. These are the kind of sets that when you're not working, you don't go off into the break room and hang out and sip a coffee. You hang out, you stay, you watch, you pay attention. You try to absorb as much as you can. So, even if, Troy and I weren't in a scene together, or, Laura was doing something with Nolan, I'd be sitting up with the engineers, watching, paying attention, and just enjoying being there,
Are there any sort of funny anecdotes you can share?
You know, we've talked about one of these in the past, but the one that always stands out for me, which is always so funny, is the day that Nolan discovered how to fly as Iron Man. You know, Iron Man is always landing, taking off, and landing and taking off. And so you got to figure out, like, how do you begin the mocap of beginning to fly? So, you know, every time, you know, Nolan would land in a scene and then have to fly away, he would do this, like, thing where he, like, puts his hands by the side of his hips and, like, opens up his palms, right? Like, his palms to the floor, and then he gets up on his tiptoes, and then he's just to stand there while the rest of us, like, finish the scene, because he's just, like, you know, frozen in this, like, I just left the scene because I just flew away. Poor Nolan's just, like, standing there on his tiptoes for, like, the next 20 minutes. We laughed every time. He's very graceful when he flies.
I was thinking that it was going to be something like a foam board or something like that. You'd sort of have like a foam board, and then you'd lay out on it and then stretch out, and that's you flying, because you can take the foam board away.
At least for takeoff is flat palms, tippy toes.
So how do you move horizontally then?
Awkwardly.
I'm just trying to think of it now. That's the only thing.
But you would just mocap maybe like the first couple seconds, but a lot of that they can take over.
Obviously, it is Marvel. I'm not going to even ask you if you knew anything about the Marvel franchise, because let's be honest here, I think everyone does. I mean, obviously, jumping from like games such as Call of Duty, which you were in, and obviously now Resident Evil 3, to jump to something like Marvel is another step, isn't it?
Yeah. I couldn't help but feel like there's a responsibility when you're stepping into a universe that big with a company of that clout and renown. I mean, Marvel's an incredible organization. I have to say, like, I really enjoyed working with them. They're very collaborative, very creative. They have a very clear vision, and the amount of knowledge that they bring to the table. You know, these are people that are incredibly passionate about what they do and the worlds they create, and they know everything. So we were lucky enough to have, you know, Marvel, you know, on set as well. So if it was like any question of authenticity or like, you know, what does this mean or what would that look like, they're like walking encyclopedias. I
mean, I always look at the different phases nowadays and think, where are they going with this? You know, where's it going? Now that they've done Endgame, it's sort of where's the next step exactly?
Yeah. I'm a fan, so I'm always on board and interested to see what Marvel does next.
With Captain America, were you a fan of Captain America before you signed on the project? Were you one of those people who had like the comics and stuff like that?
The first comic I ever owned was actually an Iron Man comic when I was a kid. I didn't grow up reading a ton of comics. It's actually always kind of funny to me because I've always really enjoyed comics, but I never really got into collecting or even got into reading that much. I got interested in graphic novels as I got older, and then, you know, as comics became more mainstream, you know, in the more recent past, I mean, I think my interest peaked even more. So I would say, like, yes, I obviously knew a lot about Captain America, really liked Captain America. He's an icon. Everybody, I think, almost everyone would recognize the image and the character and would sort of, like, you know even rudimentary things about him.
Well, I do have to ask the question, did you get your own mocap shield?
I did.
Did you?
I did. You know, it was really hard for them to take that away from me.
Did they not give it to you at the end?
No, I mean, because it wasn't like it wasn't like a shield. It was like constructed out of foam and wood and stuff like that. It looked shield-esque, but no, you don't get to keep those things.
I was just thinking, yeah, now I'm thinking about it, it is a bit like the five of you were cosplaying as like superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, for sure, it was like that. But I mean, it's funny, but this is where like your imagination, because for me at that moment, when they, you know, handed me the shield, this is my shield, that's my shield, and that was for me like one of those moments when it really clicked. You know, it was like, I remember like Nolan and Travis were talking in a corner. I think like, you know, Troy was getting dots put on, and then, you know, Laura was there as well, and then like one of the guys walked over and handed me the shield, and I was like standing in the volume getting ready to just like sort of prep for the day, and I kind of remember like looking around and like then holding on to the shield and being like, it's time to go to work, and it was a really kind of surreal moment, but incredible. I'm super, super, super grateful.
I dare ask this question. Oh. Obviously, they give you the shield. Did there become a point at the end of it where they go, okay, so you're done now, it's all done, it's all completed, you know, obviously we'll do all the editing and all that stuff, and then we'll tell you when it's released, but you need to give the shield back, and you go, no, it's my shield, I've earned it, it's mine.
Are you asking me if I grabbed the shield and ran to my car and stuck it in my trunk. I can't answer that question, Matt, but I'm going to let you figure that one out for yourself. But they had to wrestle that thing away from me.
Really?
Every day on set, I didn't want to put it down. Who would want to? Getting the opportunity to pick something up that even collectively 10 other people or 20 other people go, hey, by the way, that's Captain America's shield. Even if for the intents and purposes right now it's foam and wood, but we all agree this is Captain America's shield, try to take that away from me.
Were you a bit like Gollum then with the ring?
I mean, yeah, I might have hunched forward a little bit and called it my precious once or twice.
Oh, this is great content, this is. I mean, Travis is doing 4, which we can obviously say. Obviously, I'm guessing he had a foam hammer.
They actually got a real, like a 1-to-1 ratio or whatever, like authentic. I mean, it was a Thor-looking hammer.
Oh.
It was legit looking, so that one was super cool.
Guessing you weren't thinking, I might just switch them.
I was like, where's my authentic shield?
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you? Did you lose it at one point and go, where the devil's my shield?
You never lose the shield.
You might as well strap it like Link does on the back, on his back, in The Legend of Zelda.
I brought that thing to lunch with me.
Did you?
I tried, but I thought that might look a little amateur.
Might make a nice plate.
Yeah. It's great to barbecue off of.
So obviously I do have to ask you a question. Now that you've done Marvel's Avengers, how do you top that? That's a question. How do you top it? What other roles would you like to do?
Well, one of the things I'm looking forward to doing and getting interest and really sort of hoping to lean into is getting to play some eviler characters. I think getting to play the villain would be really fun and a nice sort of change of pace for me. I never think about how to top one performance or character or the next or what project will top it, but I hope I get the opportunity to really pick the projects that I'm really excited about and passionate about. I'm working on a cool project now, which has also been announced, called Disintegration, which is kind of got a really cool sort of dystopian world and humans embody robots to carry their souls, and so it's a really cool project. I'm really excited about that. So I think I'm just excited to tell good stories. I'm just excited to tell good stories in whatever form that comes in.
Well, I'm going to give you a 1-minute plug to plug Resident Evil 3. Obviously, you can plug Final Fantasy and Marvel's Avengers at the same time as well. And anything else you've got coming up? Because I know you've got a film that's actually like a normal film called A Mother Knows Worst.
That just released on Lifetime, I think, a week or two ago.
Yeah, so obviously do plug away.
Well, I mean, first, thanks for having me. If you're interested in checking out some of the other things that I have done or am working on, obviously Resident Evil 3 is out now, as well as Final Fantasy VII. Coming up at some point in the near future, we're hoping, I think, for September will be Marvel's Avengers, where I play Captain America. We don't have a release date yet for Disintegration, but I'll be in that as well as Romer Scholl. I just had a film on Lifetime called A Mother Knows Worst. And then there's a few other things cooking that I can't talk about yet, but I'm excited to share with you guys soon.
Well, Jeff, it's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you so much, man. It was really good to talk to you. I'm glad we finally got to hook up.
Obviously, we'll have to get you back now.
Anytime. You name it, I'm there.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Bye-bye now.
Cheers.